What's happening, everyone? Welcome to GBALL Vision. I hope you are doing fantastic today. In this episode of GBALL Vision, we are going to be seeing how the Divo Knives Barley stacks up against some of its other competing slip joints. Now, this knife is available for pre-order through Urban EDC Supply, and I'm not sure of the release date. I think they have a rough estimate there on Urban EDC Supply's website. I will have all the links down below to take you over to check these out. Now, this has the beautiful Segaha pattern on these titanium scales. You have this beautiful sheep's foot blade with a nice long pull or fuller, and you have a great 50-50 choil here that really aids in being a secondary uh, lock almost for this knife. You have your spring tension, but then you also have your finger as a guard there, because slip joints they can close on their own. If you are doing something most likely that you shouldn't be with the knife, it can happen. But the way this is designed, that is unlikely to happen, especially in the choked up grip. It'd be almost impossible to happen. So that's one thing I really appreciate about this knife. I also like that it is nice and thin, nice and lightweight. You have a great thin blade stock that comes down nice and thin. Beautiful satin grind on this thing. I mean, it's an ultimate slicer in a slip joint. And I can't wait for their locking version of this to come out. That looks exceptional as well. And if you do pre-order this knife, you can get yourself, and they are very well done. So, getting all of that out of the way, how does this knife stack up against other slip joints? Well below the cost of this knife, and right around the same cost as this knife. Here we have the Rough Rider Apta, which is an exceptional budget ended slip joint. We also have a Northwoods leather slip along with the QSP Hedgehog, which that is, these are both, you got a sheep's foot, you have a more Warncliffe style blade here, and this is kind of it's a modified sheep's foot. It really is a sheep's foot, the Barley is. And the QSP Hedgehog is also a sheep's foot because of that very straight downward slope to the tip, but they do it so very well. You have that nice straight edge coming to a nice little tip here, and you almost have a very reminiscent thing here. Now, the Barley does have a little bit of belly to it, which does not hinder it in any way. I think it also would have looked very good with a complete straight edge as well, kind of similar to what you see there on the QSP Hedgehog. But I really love these blade shapes, the sheep's foot, the Warncliffe style blades. They are just great users, great work knives, great EDC knives. And we'll keep the Hedgehog out here for the time being because I want to bring out this guy as well. Lancelot leather slip. You could also have him make you a slip as well. And in that slip, we have the Ohio River Jack from Traditional Pocket Knives. And, this is also very reminiscent of the Barley. You have that more straight edge, but very similar profiles. Now, the Barley is going to be a lot thinner than 90% of the slip joints that you will come in contact with. Here we have the Q-Vist. What the hell is this called? The Q-Vist. I don't remember. But this knife is pretty thin, and it's also pretty small, but it's not as thin as the Barley is. So that just kind of shows you how thin that really is. And I like a little thicker of a handle typically, but there are times where something with a skinnier handle like this really impresses me. Even with bigger hands, larger hands, it's still comfortable and it still fits very well in the hand, especially choked up in that 50-50 area. I think this thing is ergonomic as hell. I love the choice in materials with the titanium. I love the Segaha pattern that has been done in the titanium. It just looks phenomenal. I love this blue anodizing that they've done here on this version. I think it's a exceptionally great looking knife. I think it is ergonomic. The materials are on point. Now, this slip joint is on the premium end of the materials, and it's also on the more premium end of the price point. Where the APTA is $30 to $40. The Barley is going to pre-order price for $249, which I think is a good price. If you order it after the pre-order when they drop, they're going to be right around the $300 price point, which puts them up in the ballpark of, who I'm bringing out, Jack Wolf Knives, who has concreted himself and his company, Ben Belkin, Jack Wolf Knives, as the premier slip joint maker in the production world. His with the carbon fiber, typically, this is the Vanish, by the way. I finally thought of it. The Q-Vist Vanish. Great little slip joint in primo materials. This is also an Urban EDC supply exclusive with the Segaha 20 CV steel. Great little slip joint. Anyway, that puts it up here with the Jack Wolf Knives genre of slip joints, right? Coming in at $300. Is it as good as a Jack Wolf? So I'm going to say, being as it's Kev and Colin's first slip joint design, this is a prototype, all those things in consideration, right? I think that it is damn close. It's not better than a Jack Wolf, no, but I think it is extremely close for being a first slip joint design coming from guys who are not really slip joint designers. I think that they are damn close, and if you can get in there and get this knife for $250, I think that is a great price point for what you're getting. It's going to be even more refined than you're seeing here as far as the aesthetics, the action on the walk and talk. It's going to be just even more refined, right? And I think if they continue, Divo Knives, Kevin and Colin, I think if they continue down this road less traveled these days, because let's face it, there are not near as many slip joint knives as there are locking folding knives. It's not even close. Uh, you know, in a given time frame, slip joints were everything when it came to a pocket knife, but these days, you know, locking, folding knives have taken over. But there's still a big market for slip joints, and Jack Wolf Knives has brought that back to life, roaring back over the last year. Case and GEC and Rough Rider, they've kind of, kept it going. And then you have some custom makers as well who've kept things kind of just trickling along. But Jack Wolf Knives has really erupted a storm, getting people into slip joints that were never into slip joints before. And not necessarily me. I mean, it has. I'm not a slip joint fanatic, but getting a Jack Wolf, this was one of the last slip joints that I've gotten. I've gotten a couple after it, but this is definitely the most premium feeling slip joint that I've ever handled. And, you know, before before this knife came along, the QSP Hedgehog and the Ohio River Jack were definitely in that second and third, place. And then when this knife came along, the Vanish, it really moved up to number two. It's just an exceptional design. It is a little smaller, but it works. It works very well for what it was designed to be. Just a little cutter, nice and minimal profile, great walk and talk. It's perfect. But upon getting this guy, this has really moved up my list. Uh I'm putting it right there, 1B or 2, right to the Jack Wolf. I love the slender, slim profile. I love how lightweight it is because people are going to be carrying this in a pouch and dropping it in their pocket. So you don't want it to be overly heavy. This is probably about the heaviest that I would want. And this is more of a heavy duty slip joint. You got the thicker slabs of titanium, quite a bit thicker and bigger than the rest of these knives. But it really reminds me of the Tactile Knives Bear in its design and how slim and lightweight it is. And I think that knife was an inspiration for this knife for Kevin and Colin, I believe anyway. But that's really what this reminds me of is the Tactile Knife Co. Bear with a sheep's foot blade. It really reminds me of that, but it has better walk and talk. Uh, I love the blade shape better than like a clip point style blade, which the Bear is. Uh, this is up there, guys, and I think it's a highly recommendable slip joint. You know, Kevin and Colin, they're not new, but they're definitely a newer company, as is Jack Wolf. Uh, but at this point, Jack Wolf, Ben Belkin, has been doing slip joints over the last year. He's got several, a dozen slip joint designs out there. Very well proven. He's been in the slip joint game uh, since he was a kid, as far as I know. So he knows all the nuances and everything to look for when it comes to dealing with a slip joint. And being as this is Kevin and Colin's first slip joint design, I think they absolutely crushed it. I think it stacks up very well with some of these other companies who are huge companies mass producing, these knives and have a ton of experience on hand, on deck to make little changes and all that stuff. And I'm sure Kevin and Colin have gotten critiques and help with the design, but that's really irrelevant. I think what they have here is an exceptional slip joint design. And if you are into slip joints, this is definitely one to take a look at, pick up. And if you are thinking about getting into slip joints, or you want to take that next step and go from a $30, $40 knife and you want to get a premium one, I would highly, highly consider getting this, along with a Jack Wolf. I think they are very comparable in the quality, in the materials, in the build. Jack Wolves all have their look. You kind of know a Jack Wolf when you see it. And Kevin and Colin aren't going to be slip joint, designers, and that's all they do. They are going to be locking knives, and that's what they do. And they'll probably slip in a few slip joints along the way. And I think they're going to continue to get better and better as they keep doing them, just more refined, that sort of thing. But the one thing that I really love is that 50-50 choil in there. It's it changes the game for a slip joint, and it changes that fear factor that a lot of people might have when it comes to the blade closing on your finger. I, for one, have never had that happen. I'm not saying that it can't or it don't, but with that added in there, it's just a game changer. And this thing is going to be nice and minimal, slim profile, lightweight, a slicer. It's going to do exactly what you need and want it to do, all while looking very good and being comfortable in hand. I love it. This will be my last video with the barley, and I will be looking forward to picking one up at some point. But that'll wrap it up, guys. I hope that clarified some things for you, help put things in a little bit better perspective. I will throw up 2 new videos. Highly recommend going and checking them out. Click the GBALL Vision logo. If you are not subscribed, I'd love to have you here. Give the video a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below, and I will catch you guys on the next one.